My presentation is still about the results, but you want to hear more than the results at that point. As a speaker's coach, I often get asked how to close a talk or a presentation with power. And the truth is, your ending is actually decided by how you begin. You see, when you're delivering something that you want your audience to remember and to engage with, you need to start out powerfully in order to end powerfully. And one of the best ways to do this is to start with a story, but not just any story, a story that engages their emotions and sets up the audience to remember your main point. Now, let's say that you're giving a presentation on the financial or marketing results that you just had in the last quarter. And, typically when I've been at any sort of corporate presentation, these types of presentations get started off with a headline like, "This quarter, our results were very good. We overachieved what we projected." Now, that feels like a good news story, right? It is a good news story. You've overachieved, but you've already lost your audience. Here's why. What you just told them was everything you wanted them to remember. You've overachieved results. You haven't engaged them in what happened. You haven't engaged them in how you overachieved results. And they're no longer listening because the only thing you asked them to listen for was really the numbers. What if you started that same presentation like this? At the end of the quarter, it was March 30th. I was not in a great way. The reality was we hadn't yet achieved our quarterly results. And I'd had a long day and I'd come home, I'd done some more work, and it was just before midnight. I was getting ready to go to bed. I was already stressed, and I'd been a little hungry because I was stress eating. And so I made myself some peanut butter toast and I could still smell it. And I saw my phone and I picked it up and went, okay, I'm going to look one more time before I go to bed. Now, my vision was a little blurry because it was late and I was tired, but I open my phone, I scroll up, and what came up shocked me. Because the reality was our industry was down. I knew that. Our whole industry was down. And the work we did, what we do as a company is unique, it's valuable, but it's been undervalued over the last little while given the social climate. But my team had been working really, really hard, and they had made a decision that I knew was risky. That decision was to focus on giving back rather than to try and to sell our customers who were already in a place of overwhelm, sell them more. It was a risky strategy. And on that night, in that moment, what came up on my phone was not what I was expecting. Now, all right, if I started it off that way, do you think everybody would be following along? What did I just do? Well, what I've done is I've excited your brain because I've used sensory language. I talked about the smell in the air of peanut butter toast. I hope I haven't triggered anyone, by the way. I've also given you some sensory clues that bring you into the entire story. I've also talked about the results, but I haven't told you what they are. But I've given you some other clues about my team, about the work we've done, about how we were struggling, and how I was feeling. My presentation is still about the results, but you want to hear more than the results at that point. Because that's what a good opening does, is it sets you up. Now, where I would go from there is I would go into that main idea. And you actually heard me say it. What we do is important, but the entire industry is down. We made a risky choice and decided to focus on giving back instead of selling hard. That was the main idea. That's really powerful. Now, I would break that down through the rest of my presentation, but I wouldn't come back to that moment until I'm closing. And this is how you close a presentation powerfully. Because you see, what I did was I left myself somewhere to go at the end. Now, after I've told you all the things that we did and all the ways in which we had actually created whatever it was we created in that quarter, I would come back and I go, and on that night, with those blurry eyes, with the smell of peanut butter toast in the air, when I looked at my phone, I saw that the final 4 hours of our campaign had doubled what we had done in the previous 2 months. Why? My team had done a final push, and that final push wasn't about selling, but it was about giving back, and that is what turned the corner for us. And not only did we achieve our results, but we overachieved our results, and we found our customers wanting to buy from us again. And so what I want you to take away from this is that we need to take risky decisions, and those risky decisions may not always pay off, but we get learning that helps us build our company. Now, what you just heard me do there, I'm going to come out of the story. What you just heard me do was do a close. What did I do? I went back to the opening. I went back to the place that I left myself. I went back to the place where I left my audience in an emotional state. I reiterated what happened, the core idea, and I end it on a call to action. What did I want my audience to think or do differently as a result of the presentation that I've just given? And that's how you end a presentation or a talk powerfully. You want to use story or some form of an engagement tool that gets the audience emotionally engaged with what you're talking about. You need to know what your core message is and lead that story to that core message and give yourself a place to come back to so that when you close, you're doing so with engagement and power.